Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Recruiting Masters Podcast, episode 16, brought to you by the CFC Insider. I'm Katie Burt, content manager and scout for CanadaFootballChat.com, alongside Clint Uttley, who's the lead analyst and the head of the CFC Scouting Bureau, and was a former U Sports head coach. Hey, Clint, what's up?
Hello, Katie. Not much. Just looking forward to the big prospect game.
And that is coming up fast. So are you mentioning that prospect game? It's the CFC Prospect Game that is the first ever high school all-star game that's going to be broadcast on TSN, our national sports network, on June 2nd. However, it will be played on Saturday, June 1st in Ottawa, followed by the CFL Ottawa Red Blacks. Are they playing the Hamilton Tiger Cats?
I believe so.
That night. So that's a really exciting day for these 73 players that we've gone through quite a process to find. They started off with open showcases in the 5 different cities, and then we narrowed it down to tryouts, and then where they were selected onto these rosters, Team Dunnigan and Team Burris.
Yeah, which is going to be, that itself will make for a very interesting...
well, they're already trash-talking each other, so...
Yeah, so I mean, now they're doing that in a controlled setting right now, but I'm sure that'll, they'll step that up as we get closer to the game. So, I'm looking super forward to it as well. So, yeah, it's going to be good. We're going to bring the best players from across the country into one game that'll be televised nationally for the first time ever. And the kind of the cool thing about it is the kids can come, they can play in the game, then they can watch the CFL game, then they can travel home, and then they can watch themselves on TV.
The whole next week.
Make sure you PVR the game.
Well, I heard that it actually is going to also be played on primetime on Monday night on the 3rd. So that will be pretty cool. So they're going to see it on Sunday, and then they're going to see it Monday, and then online
it'll just be online.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be a really solid event, and not just Coach Burris and Coach Dunnigan, but the staffs that we've kind of put together for the game are pretty solid as well. And then just for all those guys playing in the game, the playbooks will be coming out next week. So those of you who've been sending in emails requesting the actual playbooks, they've been pretty much complete. Now the offensive coordinators are just putting their special magic touch on them.
Their stamp on it.
Their stamp. And then the head coaches will take a quick look at them, and then you'll get them this week.
So CFC recently released the CFC100 class of 2020 6th edition. The CFC150 will be going out on Wednesday of this week. Depending on when we release this podcast, it may have gone out already, or it may still be coming out, but I'm pretty sure it'll be in the latter part of the week. So you can find these rankings on CanadaFootballChat.com under the Rankings tab, and then you can just click through the various years and rankings. The CFC60 is on there as well, which is the ranking for the CEGEP and the junior college players, in case you're wondering what that ranking is all about. And exciting news upcoming in August is we will be ranking kickers, or specialists, I should say. So long snappers. Wow, I'm having problems talking today. So that's exciting. You want to keep your eye on that. So today we're going to be going over the if you followed our episode 15, we went into a bunch of the newcomers that were ranked, and we're going to continue on with that, going through the rest of the newcomers that have been ranked on the CFC100/CFC150, and offer that guy who's a prospect out of Alberta that we're going to be talking about. So you really don't want to miss that. So be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, @ChatFootball, Instagram, CFC_football, and YouTube. And don't forget to sign up for your exclusive CFC membership today to hear about these next top prospects that we're going to be talking about for the rest of the show. So Clint, let's get right into it. These next newcomers, we've got a defensive end, Nathan Clark. He's 6'2", 240 pounds. He goes to Leo Hayes in Fredericton, New Brunswick. He's kind of a tweener. Is he a 3-tech or a defensive end? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I've seen his film, and he's obviously disruptive and can run around and gets out of the stance quite well. Recently spoke to one of the youth sports coaches out in the Maritimes who had a chance to see him at their provincial tryout and asked that same question. Is he a 3? Is he a defensive end? He's obviously a really good football player. But yeah, he's kind of in that tweener mold. So, you know what? It'll be interesting to see. We'll see how his senior season goes. But yeah, he did enough on that film that I watched to get onto the list. So kudos to him. And he was his name was brought up a few times by a famous Fredericton defensive lineman who plays in the CFL for a long time. For the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I'm not going to say who, but he may have gone to the University of Acadia. He is an axeman. So this young man was actually, his name was brought up by that individual. That would be Josh Thomas's little brother. I'll let the rest of the world figure that out.
And then we've got defensive back Tanner Weeber, 6'1", 160 pounds. Another Bishop James Mahoney product. I believe they won the provincial championship for their division this year in Saskatoon.
I'm pretty sure they did. They had a couple of really good football players.
They do have a couple of really good. The linebacker Tyson Krushelinski's on there.
Yeah.
The guy that we just
Lozada's
on there. Yeah. So it sounds like they've got a pretty good roster on that team. But Tanner, he's long, he's smart, he can tackle. What else can you add about him?
You know what? Tanner was one of the late additions to the tryout list, or the list offered up a tryout spot. Initially, we offered him as a Sam, like a cover linebacker or a halfback. He went into the Calgary tryout, and when he came out of the Calgary tryout, he was probably the second best DB there. Everything in. And it's good for him because he may not be the classic DB with regards to like height and weight and whatever and back pedal and hips and stuff, but he is a long 6'1", and he does a good job covering people. Mm-hmm. And he understands how to play both man and zone. More specifically, like cover 3 was the impression. He would probably be outstanding at that. And he's a good, judging off his film, tackler. So yeah, he came out of nowhere. He lit it up in the tryouts. He made the prospect game, and he's pushed his way onto the list. So this is the exact thing we're talking about, where if you get out and you actually put yourself out there at one of our events and you light it up, those are the things that are going to happen. And then the players who are already on the list, it's our expectations that you'll come and you'll compete against the other 100s and 150s, and you'll demonstrate that you possibly are a better football player than them, and you'll move up the list. Yeah. So, I mean, he's a perfect example of getting onto the list and getting into the game at the same time, so good for him.
And then we've got a receiver, Kasim Ferdinand, 5'11", 150 pounds. He goes to AY Jackson out of Ottawa. So he was at our Montreal tryout. He's a quick, explosive receiver. And again, like you said, he won a spot during that Montreal showcase or that tryout.
Yeah, there's just certain points, and I mean, when we're kind of on the ground in the different cities, there's generally like 4 or 5 of us walking around the combine taking notes. You know, however we do it, some people do it differently, but we're taking notes, and we're basically tracking and keeping score of wins and losses. So it's not just like, yeah, we identify the basically how they perform in the individual periods. So, you know, we're looking at stuff like, where's his cardio at? Can he actually move his feet? Can he get over the bags? Does he have strong hands? So on and so on and so on. So we're evaluating all that. And then when we get into the competitive periods, we actually keep score of wins and losses. And that becomes part of the evaluation process. So in the Montreal thing, Kasim did a solid job in the combine part, a good job in the Indy part. But when we started tracking and keeping score of the one-on-ones, I don't think too many people actually did a good job covering him. Or, let me flip that around. Nobody could cover him. So, I mean, and it was basically that performance that kind of got him a spot in the prospect game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, 5'11", that'll do. 150, obviously he's going to have to put on some weight as he kind of progresses through his career and heading into his senior season. But, yeah, he did enough in that tryout that he really jumped out to us.
And then we have an offensive lineman, newcomer, A.G. Elton, 6'4", 300 pounds. He's out of Windsor. He played at Sandwich, I believe. However, he did announce on social media that he, too, will be heading down to Clearwater. But he's a solid offensive lineman prospect. I'm interested to see what he does with this post-grad year.
Yeah, he was a player that last year we followed pretty closely. And last year we hadn't introduced the 150 at that point. So he was right there. He was kind of in our what we call the bullpen, right on the verge. And when we moved it to 150, and then all of a sudden we thought we got onto him late, and then we were like, oh, he's right there. And then he said he's PG, and we're like, oh, all right. So if he was right there and we've gone to 150 and he's PG, better get him on the list. So he's a really good offensive lineman. He does a lot of really good things. Wasn't really dominant at one thing when we watched the film, just a really good offensive lineman. Usually when you watch those offensive linemen at the high school level, whether it's in whatever year they're in, senior, junior, sophomore, whatever, usually they're just mauling people and putting people on the ground and pancaking. He had a bit of that, but not as much as some of the other guys. But you can't look past the fact that he's 6'4", 300 pounds, and he looks fit. So I'm sure he's going to do something with that PG year.
So to hear about the next 7 newest ranked members of the CFC 100 150, sign up for your CFC Insider membership today at CanadaFootballChat.com and click the subscribe button.